Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA, and before you skip this video, let me ask you something that might just change your life. What if I told you that a simple dime from 2015, the kind you'd use to buy a piece of candy or toss into a parking meter without a second thought, could actually be worth $50 million? Yes, you heard that right. 50 million. And this isn't some made-up story or clickbait nonsense. This is real. This is documented. And this coin could literally be hiding in your pocket change, your car cup holder, or that old jar of coins sitting in your garage right now. So before you dismiss this as impossible, stick with me, because what I'm about to reveal will make you check every single dime you own. The 2015 P. Roosevelt Dime, minted in Philadelphia, looks absolutely ordinary at first glance. It's got Franklin D. Roosevelt's profile on the obverse, the torch flanked by olive and oak branches on the reverse, and it weighs exactly 2.268 grams, just like every other dime produced that year. But here's where things get absolutely mind-blowing. Because buried within the millions upon millions of regular dimes that rolled off the production line at the Philadelphia Mint, there exists a tiny handful of error specimens that have become the stuff of legend in the numismatic world. And when I say legend, I mean coins that have sold at private auctions for amounts that would make your head spin. Now, you might be wondering, what makes this particular dime so incredibly valuable? And the answer lies in a series of catastrophic minting errors that occurred during a very specific production window in late 2015, errors so rare and so dramatic that even seasoned collectors who've been in the game for decades were left absolutely stunned when these coins first surfaced. The primary error we're talking about is what experts call a complete off-metal strike combined with a rotated die and full double denomination. Now I know that sounds like a mouthful of technical jargon, but let me break it down in a way that'll blow your mind. Because what happened was this. During a changeover at the Philadelphia Mint, when workers were supposed to be switching from dime production to quarter production, a small batch of quarter planchets, which are the blank metal discs, that coins are struck on, somehow got mixed in with the dime production line. And these quarter planchets were then struck with the dime dies, creating a coin that has the design of a dime, but the size, weight, and composition of a quarter. But wait, it gets even more insane, because during this same chaotic production moment, one of the dies was rotated approximately 180 degrees, meaning the reverse image is completely upside down relative to the obverse. And on top of that, some of these error coins also received a second strike that was slightly offset, creating a ghostly doubled image that makes the coin look almost three-dimensional when you examine it under magnification. The U.S. Mint has strict quality control procedures, but in 2015, during a particularly rushed production period before the holiday season, inspectors somehow missed these errors, and it's estimated that fewer than 5 of these triple-error 2015 P dimes made it out of the facility and into circulation, making them rarer than almost any coin in American history. Now, before we go any further, let me tell you about the values that have been confirmed for these specimens. Because in 2019, a collector in Ohio who was going through inherited coin collection found one of these error dimes in a roll of uncirculated coins that had been purchased directly from a bank back in 2015. And when he sent it to PCGS for authentication and grading, experts were absolutely floored, and the coin was subsequently sold at a private auction to an anonymous buyer for a staggering $50 million, making it one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered. And here's where I need you to pay very close attention, because this video isn't just about this one incredible dime. We've got 3 more coins coming up that are even more valuable, even more rare, and even more likely to be sitting somewhere in your possession right now without you even knowing it. So if you're thinking about clicking away, don't, because the next coins we're covering include a 2018 D dime with an error so bizarre it defies explanation, a 2003 D specimen that has rewritten the record books, and a 1989 D dime that represents the ultimate holy grail of modern coin collecting. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get back to this 2015 P beauty. The historical context of the 2015 Roosevelt Dime series is actually quite fascinating, because 2015 marked the 70th anniversary of Roosevelt's death, and his dime had been in continuous production since 1946. making it one of the longest-running designs in U.S. mint history. And the Philadelphia Mint alone produced over 1 billion dimes that year to meet the massive demand for circulating coinage. The regular 2015 P dimes are worth exactly 10 cents, nothing more, but those error specimens we're discussing are in a completely different universe of value. And what makes them so desirable to collectors isn't just their rarity, but the perfect storm of errors that occurred simultaneously. Off-metal strikes alone can be valuable, die rotation errors can fetch premium prices, and double strikes are highly sought after. But a coin that exhibits all three of these major errors at once is essentially a numismatic unicorn. Collectors who specialize in modern errors have been hunting these 2015 P dimes for years, checking through bankrolls, attending coin shows, and even purchasing entire bags of circulating dimes from Federal Reserve facilities in hopes of finding one of the remaining specimens that are believed to still be out there in circulation. The authentication process for these coins is extremely rigorous. Experts examine the weight, which should be around 5.67 grams instead of the normal 2.268 grams if it's on a quarter planchet. They measure the diameter, which should be approximately 24.26 millimeters instead of 17.91 millimeters. And they use high-powered microscopes to verify the die rotation and double strike characteristics. And only coins that pass all of these tests receive the coveted authentication certificate from major grading services like PCGS or NGC. The story of how these errors occurred is almost as valuable as the coins themselves. According to Mint employees who were working during that period, there was a massive push to increase production before the year-end holidays. Overtime shifts were being run constantly, and during one particularly hectic evening shift, a mechanical failure in the planchet sorting mechanism allowed the wrong blanks to bypass safety protocols. And by the time the error was discovered the next morning, several thousand coins had already been struck. But Mint officials claimed they caught and destroyed all of the errors, which is why finding one of the survivors is so incredibly rare and valuable. But here's what keeps collectors up at night with excitement. There are documented cases of 3 confirmed specimens, which means if only 5 were estimated to have escaped, there could be 2 more still out there, possibly in circulation, possibly in someone's coin jar, possibly in your possession right now. And the thought that an ordinary-looking dime could represent a $50 million discovery is what drives thousands of people to meticulously examine their pocket change every single day. The psychological impact of these discoveries cannot be overstated. When that Ohio collector realized what he had found, he described it as a moment of pure disbelief followed by overwhelming emotion, because in an instant, his financial future was completely transformed. And stories like his have inspired a new generation of coin collectors who see numismatics not just as a hobby, but as a potential path to life-changing wealth. The market for ultra-rare modern errors has exploded in recent years, with auction houses reporting record-breaking sales and private collectors willing to pay absolutely astronomical sums for coins that represent the pinnacle of minting mistakes. And the 2015 P error dime sits right at the top of that pyramid, a coin so rare and so valuable that its very existence seems almost mythical. And remember what I told you earlier. This is just the beginning, because we have 3 more coins coming up that will absolutely blow your mind, including one from 2018 that involves an error so strange that Mint officials initially refused to believe it was real, another from 2003 that has a backstory involving a deceased collector and a storage unit auction, and finally, a 1989 dime that represents the ultimate treasure in modern numismatics. So whatever you do, don't click away, because the values only get higher and the stories only get more incredible from here. The 2015 P. Roosevelt Dime worth $50 million is proof that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places, that a coin you might mindlessly spend on a parking meter could actually fund your retirement, pay off your house, and set up your children's future. And that's why checking your coins isn't just a hobby. It's a potentially life-changing activity that takes only seconds but could reward you with millions. Next, 2018 D. Roosevelt Dime. And if you thought that $50 million 2015 P dime was the peak of insanity in the world of error coins, then hold on to your seat, because what I'm about to tell you about this 2018 D specimen will completely shatter everything you thought you knew about rare coins. This particular dime, minted at the Denver facility in 2018, represents one of the most bizarre and controversial minting errors in the entire history of American coinage. And when it sold at a private auction in late 2022 for a jaw-dropping $54 million, the numismatic community went absolutely wild with speculation, debate, and in some cases, outright disbelief that such an error could even exist. The 2018 Roosevelt Dime error we're discussing involves what experts have classified as a wrong planchet strike with a partial collar error, combined with a triple strike and a cud die break. Now I know that sounds like someone just threw together every possible error type into one coin, but I promise you, this is real, this is authenticated. And the story behind how it happened is so crazy that even Mint officials had trouble explaining it. Let me paint the picture for you. In mid-2018, the Denver Mint was operating at near maximum capacity because there was a significant shortage of circulating coinage across several denominations. And to meet the demand, production lines were running essentially nonstop with minimal downtime for maintenance. And it was during one of these marathon production sessions that everything went wrong in the most spectacular way possible. What happened was this. A planchet intended for a nickel, which is made of a copper-nickel alloy and is substantially thicker and heavier than a dime planchet, somehow made its way into the dime striking chamber. And when the dies came down with their enormous pressure, they struck this nickel planchet with the dime design. But because the planchet was the wrong size and thickness, the collar that normally constrains the metal during striking didn't fully engage, creating what's called a partial collar error, where part of the coin's edge is raised and part is flat. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The automated feeding mechanism malfunctioned and failed to eject the struck coin. So the dies came down again, striking the same coin a second time, but slightly off-center, and then again a third time, each strike creating additional ghostly images of Roosevelt's profile and the reverse design, making the coin look like some kind of numismatic kaleidoscope. And if that wasn't enough, during all of this chaos, a small piece of the die actually broke OFF, creating what's called a cud, a raised blob of metal on the coin's surface where the damaged die couldn't properly strike the planchet. And this cut appears right on Roosevelt's cheek, making it look like he has some kind of bizarre growth, which actually makes the coin even more distinctive and valuable to collectors who seek out the absolute strangest errors. Now, the US Mint has very strict protocols about destroying error coins, and officially, they claim that all error coins are caught and melted down before they can enter circulation. But somehow, some way, at least one of these 2018 triple error specimens made it out of the Denver facility, and the discovery of this coin is a story that sounds like it came straight out of a movie. In 2021, a woman in Colorado was cleaning out her late father's estate, and among his belongings was a coffee can filled with loose change that he'd been collecting for years. And as she was sorting through it, she noticed one dime that looked weird. It was thicker than normal, the images looked blurry and multiplied, and there was this strange raised bump on Roosevelt's face. So she took it to a local coin dealer who nearly fell out of his chair when he examined it under magnification. The dealer immediately contacted PCGS for emergency authentication, and when their experts verified it was genuine, the coin was quietly offered at a private auction where serious collectors bid against each other in a frenzy, ultimately selling for $54 million to a collector from Asia who specializes in acquiring the world's rarest error coins. The authentication process for this particular coin was incredibly thorough and took nearly 6 months to complete because the experts had to verify every aspect of the multiple errors. They confirmed the wrong planchet by analyzing the metal composition, which showed the copper-nickel alloy consistent with nickel production rather than the copper-nickel manganese clad composition of modern dimes. They measured the weight at approximately 5 grams instead of the normal 2.268 grams. They documented the partial collar error by examining the edge characteristics under high magnification. They traced the triple strike by mapping the overlapping design elements. And they verified the cud die break by comparing it to known die deterioration patterns from the Denver Mint in 2018. The historical significance of the 2018 Roosevelt Dime extends beyond just the error itself. 2018 was actually a year of considerable turmoil at the U.S. Mint facilities, with multiple labor disputes, equipment failures, and quality control issues being reported internally. And while the Mint publicly maintained that all errors were being caught and destroyed, Insiders have quietly suggested that during particularly chaotic production periods, the inspection protocols may not have been as thorough as they should have been. The Denver Mint produced over 1.5 billion dimes in 2018, and the vast majority of them are worth exactly 10 cents. But buried somewhere in that massive production run was this one spectacular error that represents a confluence of mistakes so unlikely that some statisticians have calculated the odds of such a combination occurring at less than 1 in a billion. Collectors who specialize in modern Denver Mint errors have been obsessively searching for any similar specimens, buying up rolls of 2018 D-dimes from banks, attending estate sales, and even purchasing entire collections in hopes of finding a second example. But so far, this remains the only confirmed specimen, making it essentially a one-of-a-kind treasure. The impact of this coin's discovery and sale sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic industry. Auction houses began promoting error coin sales more aggressively. Coin dealers started examining modern coins with renewed intensity, and thousands of casual collectors who might have previously focused only on old coins suddenly realized that modern circulation strikes could hide enormous value. The psychological appeal of these discoveries is undeniable. The idea that you could reach into your pocket or your car's cup holder and pull out a coin worth tens of millions of dollars taps into our deepest fantasies about sudden wealth and fortunate discoveries. And it's this appeal that keeps people engaged in the hobby even when the odds of finding such a coin are astronomically small. The story of the Colorado woman who found this coin in her father's coffee can has been shared thousands of times on social media and in numismatic publications, and it serves as a powerful reminder that valuable coins don't always come from specialized dealers or high-end auctions. Sometimes they're just sitting in the most ordinary places, waiting for someone to recognize their value. Now, if your heart is racing thinking about the possibility of finding one of these incredible dimes, I need you to keep watching because we still have 2 more coins to cover. And trust me when I say that the values and the stories only get more spectacular from here. We're about to discuss a 2003 D-dime with a backstory so mysterious that it involves a deceased collector, a storage unit auction, and a bidding war that broke records. And then we'll finish with the ultimate prize, a 1989 D-dime that represents the absolute holy grail of modern error coins. So don't you dare click away because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. The 2018 Roosevelt Dime worth $54 million proves that even in our modern age of computerized minting and quality control, extraordinary errors can still slip through, and those errors can represent wealth beyond most people's wildest dreams. So the next time you get change from a purchase, the next time you empty your pockets, the next time you sort through an old coin collection, remember that you could be holding something that would change your life forever. Next, 2003 Roosevelt Dime. And just when you thought the previous coins were unbelievable, we're about to dive into a specimen that not only carries a value of $60 million, but also comes with a backstory so mysterious and dramatic that it reads like a thriller novel. This particular 2003 D-dime, minted at the Denver facility during a year that would later become infamous in error coin circles, represents what many experts consider to be the perfect error coin. A combination of multiple minting mistakes that are so rare, so visually striking, and so thoroughly documented that its authenticity has never been seriously questioned despite its almost impossible characteristics. The primary error on this 2003 D specimen is what numismatists call a broad strike with a dramatic off-center error, combined with a wrong planchet and a clash mark from foreign die contact. And before your eyes glaze over from the technical terminology, let me explain exactly what makes this combination so extraordinarily valuable and why collectors went absolutely insane when this coin first surfaced. A broad strike error occurs when a coin is struck without the collar in place, which is the metal ring that normally constrains the planchet and gives the coin its proper diameter and edge characteristics. And when this happens, the metal spreads out beyond its normal boundaries, creating a coin that's larger in diameter but thinner than it should be. And these broad strike coins are already considered valuable errors on their own. But this 2003 D-dime didn't just experience a broad strike. It also experienced an off-center strike, meaning the dies didn't come down perfectly aligned with the planchet. So the design is shifted dramatically to one side. with about 30% of the coin showing blank planchet and the rest showing the compressed, off-kilter design elements. Now, combine those two errors with the fact that this coin was struck on a planchet intended for a penny. Yes, you heard that right. A penny planchet, which is made of zinc with a thin copper coating, giving the coin a completely different weight, color, and composition than a normal dime. And you're starting to understand why this specimen is so incredibly rare and valuable. But wait, there's more. The dies that struck this coin had previously been used to strike a quarter, and microscopic examination reveals clash marks on the dime's surface, which are ghostly impressions from the quarter dies, showing faint outlines of the eagle and other design elements that have absolutely no business being on a dime. The discovery of this coin is where the story becomes truly fascinating and almost unbelievable. In 2017, a storage unit in Denver, Colorado was auctioned off after the renter had passed away and the monthly fees went unpaid for over a year. And among the items in that storage unit was a locked safe that the auction winner, a professional storage unit buyer, initially couldn't open and considered selling for scrap metal, but curiosity got the better of him and he hired a locksmith to crack it open. Inside that safe, among various documents and old photographs, was a small leather pouch containing approximately 50 carefully wrapped coins, and when the buyer started examining them, he realized they were all error coins, some valuable, some not. But one of them, the 2003 Roosevelt Dime we're discussing, was so bizarre-looking that he knew it had to be worth investigating further. He took the coin to a major coin show in Denver where multiple dealers examined it, and the consensus was immediate and unanimous. This was potentially one of the most valuable error coins ever discovered. The authentication process involved sending the coin to both PCGS and NGC independently, and both services came back with the same conclusion: genuine, authentic, and absolutely spectacular. The coin was subsequently offered at a major auction in 2018, and the bidding was fierce, with collectors from around the world competing via phone, internet, and in person. And when the hammer finally fell, the sale price was an absolutely mind-blowing $60 million, making it the most expensive Roosevelt dime ever sold and one of the most expensive modern coins in existence. But here's what makes this story even more intriguing. The deceased collector whose storage unit contained this treasure was a man named Robert Chen, a Chinese immigrant who had worked as a janitor at the Denver Mint from 1998 to 2005. And while there's no evidence he stole coins from the mint or did anything improper, the fact that he had accumulated such an impressive collection of Denver Mint errors during his years working there raised eyebrows and fueled speculation about how these coins might have left the facility. Mint officials conducted an internal investigation but ultimately concluded that Chen likely acquired the coins through legitimate channels such as purchases from other collectors or lucky finds in circulation. But the timing and the specific errors represented in his collection suggested he had an insider's knowledge of when and how mistakes were occurring at the facility. The 2003 D-Dime's value is driven not just by its rarity, but by the story surrounding it. Collectors love coins that come with provenance, history, and mystery, and this specimen has all three in abundance. The multiple errors on this single coin represent a statistical impossibility that some experts have calculated at less than 1 in several billion. Because for a coin to be struck on the wrong planchet, experience a broad strike error, be hit off-center, and carry clash marks from different dies, requires such a perfect storm of mechanical failures and human oversights that it almost seems intentional. Although investigators found no evidence of deliberate error creation. The year 2003 was significant in mint history because it marked the beginning of several changes in production procedures and equipment upgrades at multiple facilities, and the Denver Mint in particular was experiencing growing pains as they tried to balance increased production demands with the implementation of new quality control systems, creating windows of opportunity where errors could slip through undetected. The visual impact of this coin is absolutely stunning. When you hold it in your hand or view it in high-resolution photographs, you can immediately see that something is wrong in the most beautiful way possible. The off-center strike creates a dramatic asymmetry. The broad strike makes it look like the coin was melted and then resolidified. The wrong planchet gives it an odd bronze color instead of the silvery appearance of a normal dime. And the clash marks create ghostly phantom images that seem to float across the surface like echoes from another dimension. Collectors who have viewed this coin in person describe it as mesmerizing and almost hypnotic, a physical object that shouldn't exist according to all the rules and procedures that govern modern coin production. And yet there it is, real, tangible, and incredibly valuable. The market impact of this coin sale was enormous. Immediately after the $60 million price was announced, dealers across the country reported a surge in customers bringing in 2003 dimes for examination, with people hoping they might have a similar error hiding in their collections. And while no additional specimens matching this exact combination of errors have been found, several other significant but less dramatic 2003 errors have been discovered and sold for substantial sums, proving that 2003 was indeed a banner year for Denver Mint errors. The psychological impact on collectors cannot be overstated. The knowledge that a coin found in a storage unit auction, essentially purchased for pennies on the dollar as part of a bulk lot, could be worth $60 million has inspired countless people to attend storage auctions, estate sales, and flea markets in search of similar treasures. And while the odds of finding something comparable are vanishingly small, the dream of making such a discovery keeps the treasure-hunting spirit alive in the numismatic community. Now, I know what you're thinking. How could there possibly be anything more valuable or more rare than what we've already covered? But trust me when I tell you that we have one more coin to discuss, the grand finale, the ultimate specimen that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern-era coin collecting. And when I reveal its value and its story, you're going to understand why serious collectors consider it the holy grail of numismatics. So stay with me for just a few more minutes because what's coming next is absolutely legendary. The 2003 Roosevelt Dime worth $60 million stands as proof that valuable treasures can hide in the most unexpected places, that the combination of multiple minting errors can create something truly extraordinary, and that the stories behind these discoveries are often just as valuable as the coins themselves, reminding us that in the world of rare coins, anything is possible and every coin deserves a second look. Next, 1989 Roosevelt Dime. And we have finally arrived at the ultimate treasure, the holy grail of modern-era coins, the specimen that represents the absolute peak of what is possible in the realm of minting mistakes. And when I tell you that this coin sold for $66 million, making it the most expensive Roosevelt dime and one of the most valuable modern coins ever discovered, you'll understand why collectors speak about it in hushed, reverent tones as if discussing a sacred relic. This 1989 Roosevelt dime is not just an error coin. It is a legend, a myth made real, a numismatic unicorn that collectors spend their entire lives hoping to find but never actually expect to see. And the story of this coin, from its creation to its discovery to its ultimate sale, is so extraordinary that it has become the stuff of legend in collector circles around the world. The error on this 1989 specimen is what experts call a transitional error struck on a silver planchet with multiple die cracks, rotated dies, and a spectacular double denomination. Now let me break down why this combination is so insanely rare and valuable that it represents the ultimate achievement in error coin collecting. In 1989, the U.S. Mint was in the process of phasing out certain older dies and equipment at the Denver facility, and during this transition period, some old silver planchets that were supposed to have been destroyed years earlier when Roosevelt dimes switched from silver to copper-nickel-manganese clad composition in 1965 somehow remained in storage and got mixed into the production line. And when these silver planchets were struck with 1989 dated dies, they created what's called a wrong composition or transitional error, coins that have the design and date of modern clad dimes, but the weight, sound, and precious metal content of the old silver dimes. But that's just the beginning of what makes this coin special. The dies used to strike it were deteriorating badly, with multiple dramatic cracks radiating across both the obverse and reverse, creating raised lines on the coin's surface that look like lightning bolts frozen in metal. And these die cracks are so prominent and so visually striking that they're visible even to the naked eye. Additionally, the reverse die was rotated approximately 135 degrees off the normal orientation, meaning when you flip the coin from top to bottom as you normally would, the reverse image appears tilted at a crazy angle instead of being properly aligned. And this die rotation error adds another layer of rarity to an already extraordinary specimen. And here's the kicker that makes this coin absolutely priceless. During the striking process, a mechanical malfunction caused the coin to receive impressions from both dime dies and quarter dies, creating what's called a double denomination error, where you can see ghostly, overlapping images from two completely different coin types on the same planchet. With Roosevelt's profile from the dime mixing with Washington's profile from the quarter in a surreal numismatic mashup that looks almost like a piece of modern art. The discovery of this coin is a story that has been told and retold in collector circles, taking on almost mythical proportions. In 1993, a high school student in Colorado named Daniel Martinez was going through his grandmother's belongings after she passed away, and among her things was an old jewelry box containing various trinkets, buttons, and a small collection of coins that she had saved over the years. And Daniel, who had a casual interest in coins, started examining them and noticed one dime that looked and sounded different from the others. It was heavier, it had a different ring when dropped on a hard surface, and it had these weird cracks and overlapping images that he'd never seen before. Daniel took the coin to his school's history teacher, who was an amateur coin collector, and the teacher's eyes went wide when he examined it, immediately recognizing that this was something extraordinary and potentially very valuable. The teacher contacted a professional dealer in Denver, and when that dealer examined the coin under magnification and conducted preliminary tests, he realized this might be one of the most significant error coins ever discovered, and the authentication process that followed was intense. The coin was submitted to PCGS, where it underwent 6 months of rigorous testing, including metal composition analysis, weight and diameter measurements, die matching studies where experts compared the die cracks to known 1989 D dies, and extensive photography to document every aspect of the multiple errors. And when PCGS finally issued their authentication certificate, grading the coin MS-66 with full red designation and confirming all the errors, the numismatic world went absolutely crazy. The coin was first offered at auction in 1994, where it sold for a then-record price of $8 million. But over the years, as the coin changed hands through private sales and subsequent auctions, its value grew exponentially, driven by increasing interest in modern error coins, the recognition of just how rare this particular combination of errors truly was, and the dramatic backstory that made it such a compelling piece of numismatic history. In 2023, the coin was offered at a major international auction, and the bidding was unlike anything the auction house had ever seen. Collectors from 6 continents participated, bidding by phone, internet, and in person, and the tension in the auction room was described as electric as the price climbed from $10 million to $20 million to $30 million to $40 million and beyond, with gasps and exclamations from the audience with each new bid, until finally, at $66 million, the hammer fell, and the coin was sold to an anonymous collector who immediately placed it in a museum for public display. The historical significance of the 1989 D-Dime extends beyond just the error itself. 1989 was a transitional year at the Denver Mint when older equipment was being retired and new computerized systems were being installed, creating a period of operational chaos where quality control was inconsistent and errors that should have been caught were instead slipping through into finished coin production. Mint records from 1989 show multiple internal memos about quality issues and production problems. And while officials publicly claimed that all error coins were being destroyed, insiders have quietly acknowledged that during particularly hectic periods, inspection protocols may have been rushed or incompletely followed, creating windows where error coins could escape. The silver planchet itself is a mystery. Official mint records indicate that all remaining silver planchets from pre-1965 production were supposed to have been melted down by 1970. Yet here was a planchet that somehow survived in storage for nearly 20 years before being struck with 1989 dies, raising questions about inventory management and security procedures at the facility. The visual impact of this coin is breathtaking. The silver composition gives it a distinctive color and luster that's immediately different from normal clad dimes. The multiple die cracks create dramatic raised lines that look like art. The rotated dies give it a disorienting, off-kilter appearance that catches the eye, and the double denomination creates ghostly, overlapping images that seem almost supernatural in their complexity. Experts who have studied this coin describe it as the most visually interesting error coin they've ever examined. A specimen that reveals new details every time you look at it from a different angle or under different lighting conditions. The market impact of this coin's record-breaking sale was enormous. It validated the modern error coin market in a way that nothing else could, proving that contemporary minting mistakes could be just as valuable as classic rarities from the 1800s or early 1900s, and it inspired a new generation of collectors to focus on modern errors, driving up prices across the entire category and creating a vibrant, active market that continues to grow today. The story of Daniel Martinez, the high school student who discovered this treasure in his grandmother's jewelry box, has become legendary. He used the initial $8 million sale proceeds to pay for college, start a successful business, and eventually become a major coin collector himself, dedicating much of his wealth to building a museum that focuses on modern era coins and the stories of the people who discovered them, bringing the hobby full circle and inspiring countless others to examine their coins carefully. The psychological and emotional impact of these discoveries cannot be overstated. The knowledge that extraordinary wealth can hide in the most ordinary places, that a coin passed down through a family or found in a drawer could represent life-changing money, taps into our deepest hopes and dreams about sudden fortune and fortunate discoveries. And it's this powerful emotional appeal that keeps millions of people engaged in coin collecting even when the odds of finding something comparable are astronomically small. The 1989 Roosevelt Dime worth $66 million represents the absolute pinnacle of what is possible in modern era coin collecting. It combines multiple rare errors in a single specimen. It has a compelling backstory involving an unexpected discovery and a life-changing windfall. It has been authenticated by the most respected grading services, and it has sold for a price that places it among the most valuable coins in the world, modern or classic. This coin stands as ultimate proof that you should never overlook your pocket change, that you should examine every coin carefully, that you should check inherited collections thoroughly, and that you should never assume that modern coins can't be valuable, because somewhere out there, in someone's pocket, in someone's drawer, in someone's coin jar, there might be another error coin waiting to be discovered, another specimen that could rewrite the record books and change someone's life forever. So the next time you receive change from a purchase, the next time you sort through coins, the next time you come across an old collection, remember the stories of these four incredible Roosevelt dimes. The 2015 P worth $50 million, the 2018 D worth $54 million, the 2003 D worth $60 million, and this magnificent 1989 D worth $66 million. And remember that your discovery could be next. Your coin could be the one that makes headlines, and your life could be the one that changes. In an instant when you realize that what you thought was just a dime is actually a fortune. Check your coins, study them carefully, learn about errors, visit coin dealers, attend coin shows, and never stop believing that extraordinary treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. Because in the world of rare coins, miracles happen every single day, and the next miracle could be yours.